Welcome everyone to the first episode of the Top Step F1 podcast with myself, Daniel. I am joined by Ash. How are you doing, Ash?
Not too bad, cheers, Dan.
Good, good. Are we all excited? We all excited?
And looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's this is something new for us. I've done a little bit of podcasting in the past. Ash is new to all this, so you guys will have to bear with us. We think the audio's not too bad, but you know, it's there's going to be some bumps along the way, I'm sure. But of course, this is a new F1 podcast, just talking all things F1. We're going to be previewing the season in this episode, looking at the teams, the drivers, the new rules, pre-season, and also our predictions for the 2021 season. First off, though, I think it's worth going into introductions. I'm going to give that over to Ash. Sort of let everybody know when you got into F1. What sort of what are your memories of maybe the first race that you remember? Let's say.
Cool. So I have been following F1 since I was 6. So for a very long time. Unfortunately, the first race I remember is a particular race that happened in Imola. We don't need to go into the details of that race, but that's the one. That's my very first memory of F1, unfortunately. But I've been a fan for a very long time. I was a big Jordan fan growing up, and McLaren. Still a very big McLaren fan to this day. And yeah, it's I'm looking forward to seeing how McLaren do this season. It's been good to see them come back on the rise over the past few years. How about yourself, Dan?
So you've been watching F1 a lot longer than me, a lot longer. 6-year-old. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I didn't start watching till 2007, so I was 20. So I didn't get into it in childhood at all. It was more sort of tennis and snooker more so actually when I was sort of growing up. But got into it in 2007 mostly because of Lewis Hamilton. Just sort of I just happened to put it on TV one time and I was just really enjoying it. Watched a few races that season. I think the only one I can really remember is Fuji, Japanese Grand Prix. It was a bit damp. But yeah, I've mostly been a Lewis fan since then, and a McLaren fan as well. Obviously followed Lewis to Mercedes. But yeah, still have a lot of love for McLaren anyway. So that's mostly my origin story, let's say.
A bad place to start.
Yeah, I was a bit late getting into it, admittedly. But yeah, 6 years old for you. How old are you now?
Old mid-30s.
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 So you've been watching it a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, I've only been able to. Sorry, carry on.
As I say, it was just on in the house. My dad used to watch it, and it was just one weekend he had it on, and I just decided to sit down and watch it and see what it was. And it just kind of all went from there. I'm more of a team follower than a driver follower, so like I do appreciate what the drivers do, and I do follow some drivers, but I wouldn't say I prefer following the teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'll admit I generally have only followed the drivers rather than the teams for the most part. You know, I've always sort of supported Lewis in what he's been doing. But the more I've sort of thought about it over time is that I do tend to sort of support some teams more than others anyway, like McLaren. And then there's some teams that even if one of my favourite drivers went to a team like that, to a certain team, I probably wouldn't support them as much because I'm not really a fan of the team. So like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Red Bull, Ferrari, probably mostly because like they're the teams that Lewis has sort of fought against the most as well over the years, and you sort of you almost end up like thinking of them as a rival as well. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think for me it's the team is always there, but the drivers are going to change. Sometimes they'll be there for like 3 or 4 seasons. Sometimes they're there for a season and they're gone. So it's nice to follow the drivers, but yeah, I'd rather just follow the teams and see how they're progressing. Like, you know, it wasn't easy watching the fall from grace of McLaren or Williams, and it's nice to see, like I say, McLaren like working their way back up by the looks of things.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be nice to see Williams maybe get there as well, but yeah, that's what I like to follow the most.
Yeah, it is good to see McLaren bouncing back, and I'm sort of hoping that Williams can do the same at some stage. At least now they've got some decent backing, and they seem to be making some good changes. Actually, I don't know how long they'll hold on to George Russell, but we'll wait and see on that. So
it'll be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. This season is going to be very, very interesting indeed because we've got new teams, we've got new drivers. Yeah. So on the team front, what have we got new for this year?
So we have Aston Martin, formerly Racing Point, which I'm really excited about. It's great to see Aston back in the sport, and we have Alpine, which was formerly Renault. So they're the two new teams on the grid. Yeah, thoughts so far? I think they both look great. I do like the Aston, do like the Alpine. I'm going to be probably the Aston for me. I just think it looks so good.
You're a bit of an Aston fan, though, aren't you?
Yeah, GT racing. I'm an Aston
so
fan.
Maybe you've got a little bit of a bias there already.
A little bit,
just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I can't deny it. There's bias there.
I mean, for me as well.
Again.
Yeah, it's the green. It's the green. You can't beat that. You really can't. And I kind of feel like I'm almost a little bit biased as well because I really like Aston as a brand simply because of growing up with James Bond films. You know, it's...
I can't discredit Alpine. That car does look stunning.
It looks fantastic.
Just something about that green. Yeah, there's just something about that green. I don't know. It might be the association with James Bond, or it might be my affiliation with GT racing, but it just looks nice.
I think it's the brand itself, isn't it? Probably more so, and the green as well. But the brand itself is just so iconic. So I kind of feel like, you know, you think, you know, we're thinking of Alpine, and not many people really know of Alpine. Anyway, but
I understand the change. I understand why Renault have gone for the change to Alpine.
Yes,
kind of push their sports division a bit more. But yeah, and obviously it was a smart move by them to get Alonso back. Obviously, he's still got the itch there that he can win championships, and obviously to raise their brand profile for Alpine, it was a smart move by them all around.
Yeah, and as you say on the driver front, both of these teams have got new drivers. So Alpine have got Alonso, who we all know is one of the best. Period. He's an absolutely stunning driver, and I think it'll be very interesting to see if they can sort of provide him with a good enough car to challenge for podiums. Because if he can challenge for podiums, he might be able to do even more with that. Because we've seen what he can do with cars that just underperform as well. So I'm very excited to sort of see what he does with that. And then on the Aston Martin front, we've got Sebastian Vettel. Very big signing instead of Checo Perez, who was moved across to Red Bull. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting switch. Yeah, it's an interesting switch. They've gone for a 4-time world champion So they're obviously looking for the experience. You can't say Checo is not an experienced driver. It's just only recently that formerly Racing Point were at a position where they could win races. So I don't know what their thinking is, whether they're looking for the experience to kind of, and Vettel to kind of help mature Stroll a bit as well. Like, we know Stroll can be quick. He got himself some podiums. I'm just intrigued to see what they're. I don't know if they're looking for a long-term project. I can't remember how long the contract is Vettel's got with Aston. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting switch, and obviously, Checo moving to Red Bull is going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's
going to be interesting to see.
Looking great. Yeah. In terms of Vettel moving to Aston Martin, do you think he will rediscover some of his form from his Red Bull days or his earlier Ferrari days?
I would like to see it. I do like the older, the more mature Vettel. I say mature. If anyone's watched Drive to Survive, they'll see.
Yes.
But he's. I do think he's been done by Ferrari. I don't know if I don't think the cars agreed with him over the past couple of seasons. You don't just lose talent like that overnight. I just don't think either his mindset wasn't there or he just didn't care. What do you think?
It's a tricky one because I mean he had a good car in 2017 and 2018, but I can't remember if it was 2017. Was 2017 when we had the big smash up at the Singapore Grand Prix?
I think so. I'm not sure.
I think it was, and then Ferrari had sort of after that race they went down a sort of the wrong development path with the car, and then Lewis was just superior after that race, and they lost that championship. And then in 2018, I think it was 2018 when he binned it at Germany when he started to fall apart there. And I think he's had chances to do it, but he's made mistakes, and I don't think we can blame anybody but him for that. They were pretty big mistakes, and then after that, Ferrari have just gone down a route with the car that just doesn't suit him at all, and they've decided as well then to sort of make it suit Leclerc rather than him, because they've got that long contract with him as well with Leclerc. So I think after that he decided pretty quickly that he wanted to leave. It's just been a case of him trying to find somewhere to go. And Aston have just come up at the right time for him.
Do you think Stroll will walk over him, or do you think it'll be quite even between the two, depending on obviously how Vettel sets in with the car? Because obviously it will be different to the Ferrari.
I think it'll be different, but I think at the same time it'll suit his driving style more. I think based on sort of like previous Racing Point cars, I think it'll be more suited to the way he wants to drive, and I think he'll beat Stroll fairly handily. That's my prediction. I don't know whether that will happen because as you say, he's still got to settle into the car and get used to it. But I feel like we'll get a little bit more of the older Seb than what we've had in the last couple of years.
It's his first taste of Mercedes power as well, so that's going to be interesting to see how he does with the Merc engine. Obviously, with the Renault at Red Bull and then the Ferrari, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, how do you think Alonso will fare with Alpine and compared to Ocon? I mean, Ocon's not had, he's not been consistently brilliant, but he's had some moments of brilliance, and he's been very good at times, but he's also been quite poor at times as well. So I think he's going to struggle against Alonso. I don't know what you think.
I don't think Ocon is a bad driver. I just don't think he's in the same league as Alonso.
Yeah.
Judging from what I watched in testing, it was like he'd never been away And yeah, I don't think it's going to be. Yeah, I think Alonso will literally. I don't think he'll walk all over Ocon, but I don't think Ocon will make his life difficult.
I think it could be a sort of
it's
Hamilton Bottas situation, maybe.
Yeah, I think it will be. Alonso's there to win championships.
Mm-hmm.
The big key reset button comes next year, obviously with the change in rules 2022. And that's the year everybody's looking at. So I think this year is going to be good to see him racing again. Obviously he's won Le Mans and he did Dakar and other things as well. So it's not like he's not race fit. He's kept sharp while not being in F1.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
It's just I just don't think he's lost any of it. I don't think he's lost any of his ability or his sharpness. I think he's still at the top of his game.
I think he's. I agree. I think he's not lost. I don't think he'll have lost any of the speed that he had before, the racecraft, because he was on such a high level. And I sort of put Alonso in that category of drivers alongside Lewis and Verstappen in terms of how good they are. I'd say Vettel for me is a little bit of a step back from them, to be honest. Even though he's got the 4 World Championships, okay. I don't think he's as good a driver as those 3. Although he's very, very quick and he's very, very good. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. You mentioned the new rules. Shall we have a chat about those?
Yeah, I mentioned the rules for 2022, but we'll do that next season. But there have been some rule changes for this season. So the one that everybody will notice the most is the floor. The floor in front of the rear tires has been cut away. I think it's about a 10% loss in downforce, they reckon. That's the big noticeable one that everybody will be able to see straight away. It's going to be interesting to see how they go with the lack of downforce. The engineers reckon they could get it back quite soon. Obviously, the other big aero difference is the diffuser. The vertical stakes that hang down, the length of them has been reduced. I think it's about 50 mil they've been reduced by. And it's basically the FIA just trying to reduce downforce and reduce lap time. I think they're the biggest 2 aero ones so far.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look through the rules as well now, the ones that have been changed. Obviously, we've got the DAS that's been banned. Mercedes were the only team running that, so they're the only ones negatively impacted. That could affect them quite a bit in qualifying.
Yeah. Do you think it will affect them in the race as well? Because obviously they could use it in the race as well, I assume.
They could. I think it's going to affect them a bit either way, isn't it? I think it's going to affect them. It's all about that tyre warm up. I think it's going to. It could impact them, but I think the Mercedes has always been quite good at getting heat into the tyres anyway. So I don't think it's going to be a massive, massive loss, but it's still going to have an impact. So we'll just have to, we'll see once we get to the first race this weekend to see what it's actually done on that front.
Well, Mercedes did have issues with tyre temps at times, so it'll be interesting to see if they can generate that heat. And obviously, another new thing that's coming this year is the change in obviously the Pirelli tyres. The compounds have changed, the structures have changed. I think they're trying to make it more durable because of tyre failures that happened last year.
Obviously, we'll talk about the pre-season test shortly, but they did mention that the tyres were harder. So yeah, more durable, whatever you want to call it. Um, so that it seemed like they were struggling with those tires a little bit as well. So that could make things pretty interesting if they are that different to previous years. But we'll have to wait and see on that front.
There's two more that stand out really. The automatic tire allocation, which I didn't know about until I looked into it. So drivers used to be able to determine their tire allocation for the weekend. They no longer can do this. Drivers receive 2 sets of hard tires, 3 sets of mediums, and 8 sets of softs per race weekend. So it's now equal across the board. So I don't know how that will affect tire strategy throughout the weekend. It's going to be an interesting one, especially with the change in the structure of the tires and the compounds as well.
Yeah, so it doesn't give them many harder sets to work with, does it? Really, especially if is that's through the whole weekend as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's the whole weekend. Yeah,
so if you've got practice session, I suppose the practice session's being shorter now as well. Makes it even trickier because you've got less time to test the tires, and so it's just reducing their time available with the tires, isn't it? So it's made them more tricky, and then they've got less time to actually get to grips with them.
Yep, and as you pointed out, the last point is the both Saturday practice, Friday practice, sorry, practice 1 and practice 2 have both been reduced by half an hour. So instead of being an hour and a half long, they're both now only an hour in length. So they're reducing track time completely across the weekend. So they lose an hour track time. They've only had 3 days testing. It's going to be interesting with that all important track time to get yourself set up. If you hit the ground running, you're good, but you're going to be on the back foot pretty quickly if you don't get something sorted.
Yeah, exactly, and that leads on nicely into the pre-season tests that we had. Was it a couple of weeks ago now? And yeah, the champions didn't have the smoothest of pre-season tests, and we've just been talking about the fact that there's not much time to test. There's less practice time. You need to hit the ground running. Mercedes really didn't. They had a bit of a nightmare, really. They had a lot of there was issues with gearboxes. They just didn't seem to get it together at all for the whole 3 days. What are your thoughts on that, Ash?
It's odd seeing them not hitting the ground running straight away. It's I don't know if it was I don't know if like of other teams had like a filming day before testing, and Mercedes were the only ones not to do that, which was interesting. So I don't know if that put them on the back foot to begin with. I don't know if the lack of the DAS system is causing it as well, because obviously the car is just an evolution of last year's car. So it's not like they've lost performance from last year. Either Red Bull just found something, or Mercedes just haven't done as much as they thought they had.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much they've actually made back in the downtime over the winter. Red Bull, on the other hand, looked very, very good. It still seemed like they had a slightly difficult car to drive, but Verstappen did say that it seemed easier to drive than last year. Which, when you take into account the fact that they were supposed to have less downforce on the car, that's quite a good sign for them, I would say.
Yeah, they're definitely the favourites after preseason testing, aren't they?
But their design is obviously a bit different, isn't it? Their design's different. They've got the high rake. Alpha Tower have gone for that as well. And they're saying these
they did say they were talking about it, weren't they? About the change in rake was potentially the right way to go with the changing compound on the tires. I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing those two. I still think they'll be the two front running cars. I think other teams may be able to get some wins here and there, but I think they're still the two to watch. Me anyway.
I think I think it'll be those two that are fighting for the championship, and I actually do think it'll be a closer fight this year than we've had for a long time.
I'd agree.
And then obviously Red Bull have got Perez now as well, so they've actually got two drivers who can fight. I would argue that they've actually got the better driver pairing than Mercedes.
I think I'd agree there. I think Perez has proved himself last year with that win with the Racing Point, and obviously now he's in a proper front running team. I just think he's going to go all out and just show that Racing Point were wrong, And I think we'll get a hander on the Red Bull. I think for me the biggest thing for me is the midfield fight, with obviously the slight changes in the cars this year. I think the midfield fight is going to be the biggest we've seen it. I don't think it'll just be McLaren, Aston Martin, or Alpine. I think you have to include AlphaTauri in there as well, and Ferrari.
Yeah, I agree. Ferrari as well, with the upgraded power unit. So yeah, the midfield for the fight for third place in the constructors is going to be extremely competitive. I think it could be one of the most competitive seasons we've had, like in the turbo era, like the hybrid turbo era.
You go off of testing, you have to look at McLaren as the favourite so far. And McLaren looked solid.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the diffuser changes with the fins, and I think if I remember rightly, it was McLaren that had the most unique design for that. That actually looked like they'd worked something out really clever that none of the other teams had done. So
I believe it's the two. There's two. The two bits that they're not called fins. The strakes. Sorry. There's two strakes. There's two strakes at the back of the diffuser that actually are part of the chassis. So technically, they're not part of the. I believe they're part of the chassis and not part of the diffuser. So they can actually get away with having them there, and I think they're slightly longer as well. So they're able to gain a bit more downforce from the diffuser. Which is, and I think that's the argument, and I think that's the loophole that they found, is because they're technically part of the rear chassis. It actually doesn't count as part of the diffuser, so they can get away with it. But I think it's an ongoing. I think we'll get some clarification. I've not seen anything about it yet, but I think we'll get some. Wouldn't surprise me if we get some clarification over the next few weeks about it.
Well, especially if they're fast. I'm sure.
Everyone will copy it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously they spent a lot of their tokens on the power unit side of things because they've got the Mercedes power unit this year, which is quite exciting considering how good McLaren were last year. And then you think, how good are they going to be with a Mercedes power unit in the back? I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and the fact that they've got Ricciardo in there now as well. That's very exciting. A very exciting driver pairing Ricciardo and Norris.
They're definitely going to push the team forward without a doubt. It's the most exciting pairing on the grid, I'd say, the two of them. Ricciardo still hungry for a world title. Norris is young and ambitious. Podium last year. They definitely both want to push that team forward, which is good to see. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Aston Martin, formerly Racing Point. It'd be interesting to see how reliable that car's going to be. The fact that the day 3 of testing they did, was it 10 laps or something like that? They didn't do many laps.
They had a rough test as well, didn't they? and
Definitely
I
hampered.
I do think that car is still going to be very good. I don't see it being a bad car. I still think they're going to be fighting for third place. I think they've just got a few gremlins to work out, which I would imagine they'll get sorted pretty quickly.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, well, you'd hope so. You never know.
Yeah, they'll certainly be on the back foot with the lack of testing, but you definitely can't rule them out now, especially with the money injection they've got from Lawrence Stroll. So it'd be good to see what they can do.
Old Daddy
Um,
Stroll.
so yeah, they could be one to watch. Alpine, Alonso leading them, solid testing for them.
Yep.
Alonso showing that fitness wasn't an issue.
No, I think they've said that they're aiming for podiums. So the car needs to be good if they're aiming for podiums. They must be happy with it, or fairly happy with it. And
It didn't
they've got good
didn't look
drivers.
too bad.
They've got good drivers. They can. Alonso will work some magic at some point, especially if we get mixed weather conditions and such. It'll be interesting. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how AlphaTauri do, because they've got Pierre Gasly, who won a race. He's now a race winner. He had a great season last season. Really showed Red Bull what he was made of. And now we've got Yuki Tsunoda, who's going in as his teammate. And I'm quite a big fan of Yuki. I watched quite a lot of his races in F2, and he's an exciting driver. He's an exciting driver, and I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing how those two compare. I don't know about you.
I think Yuki is my driver to watch this season.
Yeah, same.
I think I think he is. I think he's gonna. I hope he does some magical things with the AlphaTauri. I think they did a good thing in keeping Gasly. After the performances he's had over the past couple of seasons since Red Bull decided he wasn't good enough. I just hope he doesn't. I hope he gets an opportunity further up. And then Yuki just seems to be switched on from the go. He seems to have pace, and the AlphaTauri looks good as well. So I definitely think they're going to be up there.
They did look very good. It looked very comfortable, very very drivable, which I think has been the case for the team for the past few seasons now. With Gasly's found it quite easy to drive. Albon found it easy to drive, and I'm sure Yuki will as well. And I think they'll get some good results again. And you never know. We might get another, a couple of race winners outside the top two teams again.
I hope so. It'd be good to see. And so if we move on to Ferrari next, obviously Sainz and Leclerc this year. Ferrari have said that they think they've clawed back the horses they lost in their engine. They said,
yeah.
So it'd be interesting. I don't think they'll be a front running team. I do think they're solidly planted in the midfield. I think I'm going to stick my neck out and say Sainz will do better than Leclerc.
That's a bold prediction.
I just watching him drive. I just think he's yeah. Do I rate him better? I think I do. I think Leclerc's got a little bit of learning to do. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how they do. I don't think they'll. It will surprise me if they get third. This year, I don't think they'll be top two, but I think if they climb back up from sixth they got this year, they can only go forward.
I'm with you all the way. I mean, I said it. I stream, and when I've been streaming F1 and talking about it, I mentioned the fact that I do think Sainz will beat Leclerc overall this season. I think Sainz is just the better all round driver. He's not making. He's generally not making the mistakes that you see from Leclerc. If we take out the Russian Grand Prix snafu that he made, but because that was quite a big one. But Sainz for me is a more well-rounded driver, and he's got more experience. And I just think that he's very determined, and he reminds me a lot of Alonso in many ways.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting I'm expecting it to be close, but I think Sainz will win out of the two. The Ferrari, as for the Ferrari itself, as you say, the power unit is apparently much improved, but is it going to be improved enough to compete with Mercedes and even Honda? Maybe it'll get to sort of like the Renault levels of performance, but it's the reliability as well. If they can get reliability with that, then great. But we don't know what that's going to look like yet. So I think Ferrari. I can see them finishing 4th or 5th if both drivers perform as well as they can, because they are absolutely top draw. Then they've got a good chance. The problem last season was obviously the qualifying. The qualifying, they were qualifying so far back because they were so down on power that they just kept getting involved in incidents and struggling to get past anyone. So we'll just have to.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him in the mix, though. I mean, you need to have Ferrari fighting near the front.
All right, is it seeing him at the back?
No. It's like 2009 all over again when McLaren and Ferrari were sat at the back with their KERS systems and absolutely nowhere. So yeah, it's they need to be further up. They need to be further up. It's not right. But then we've got who have we got left? We've got Williams.
I think going from Ferrari, we'll go to Alpha.
Ah, that's a good point.
We'll do Alfa Romeo as they own Ferrari.
That's fine.
So obviously they've got Kimi and Giovinazzi. Not change there. I just think they'll do. I'm not expecting any fireworks. I just think they'll pick up the points and just keep on trucking. I just think they're yeah. I don't expect any fireworks for them this year, to be fair. It surprised me they kept on Kimi. I thought they would bring in a younger driver. But he's still enjoying racing. He's still got the experience, so they must see the value in keeping him on.
Yeah, I honestly thought that they were going to bring in Mick Schumacher. I thought Mick Schumacher with Kimi would have been a very good pairing and a really good opportunity for him to learn from him as well. And yeah, but obviously he's gone to Haas, who they're not having they're not going to have a good season, it seems.
I think the thing for me is it demonstrates the fact that Ferrari technically have 3 teams now.
Yeah.
Obviously they have, so you have Alfa Romeo, but with Haas getting Mick, who is in the Ferrari driver academy, and obviously they're Ferrari powered as well, and obviously they share certain components. You have to look at Haas as the 3rd Ferrari team technically.
Yeah.
The Ferrari C team.
C team.
It has to be. I don't think Haas. I think Haas are just going to pop along at the back. Be a good experience for Mick. It's good to see Schumacher name back in F1. But I don't expect them. I expect them maybe to pick up some points. Obviously, it depends. Depends how many crashes they have. I don't know if Schumacher and Mazepin will be any different to Grosjean and Magnussen in terms of pranging it, but it'd be interesting to see how they get on.
I guess we'll find out.
Livery.
We'll find out how talented they are, at least.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible here. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I suppose. But I think I think Mick's going to have a lot of support anyway. Just his name. It is a big name to have back in the sport. And then by stark contrast, everybody hates his teammate.
I'd love to be in a crowded room and getting his honest opinion on how he thinks in racing in that livery.
Oh,
just privately. I can't feel he's happy with it.
I don't think any. Do you think Haas themselves are happy with it?
I think it's just business. It's all.
It is, and we saw that on the latest Drive to Survive, didn't we? We saw that on Drive to Survive. They're that desperate for money.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate, but that's where they are as a team, and they've already said they're not going to be developing the car this season. So if the car's at the back, it's going to stay at the back.
It's going to stay at the back, yeah.
So it's not looking good. It's not looking good.
No, it's not. If that livery wasn't based on a certain flag, then there would be stars on that livery somewhere. Just saying. William.
It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, it's a Krokov.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes,
moving on to Williams. Our beloved Williams.
Beloved Williams, who, they're not family owned anymore, and
so interesting. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. Their new, I've forgotten his name. Oh, that's really bad. The new boss that's come in from Porsche.
Yes.
So from VW Group. We were talking about, obviously, VW Group, who own Porsche, are potentially looking at returning to F1.
Yes.
If they return, I reckon it could be in an engine capacity. This is all speculation, by the way, and me throwing things out there. But potentially Williams becoming a VW factory team.
Yeah, it's not a.
It's the second. I think it's the second member of staff that they've got that's formerly of the VW Group, now working for them.
Interesting, isn't it?
So VW are interested. It makes sense for them to run under the Porsche or Audi brand.
Yeah,
but I could foresee, depending on how things go with cost cuts, and obviously they're looking at fuels. I think they're very interested in eco fuels. So depending on how all that moves forward, it wouldn't surprise me if Williams changes, slowly amalgamates over the course of the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, could you end up with like a BMW Williams sort of situation?
I think it could be. I think it could be Williams Porsche.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would work quite well.
I know the deal was to keep the Williams name, but I don't know how long that was for. I don't know if that was indefinite or if that was for a certain period. That's the thing. No one knows what the terms were.
I mean, I don't think they can keep it indefinite, can they? I don't think there's an agreement anywhere that would make it indefinite. So
I don't know.
Maybe it's just for a few years, and then eventually it'll just disappear, or keep it as a secondary name.
A shame, maybe a shame, but
it would be. But the family's gone now. The family's gone. They're not really involved with it anymore. So for me, it's not the same team now anyway. I would have actually preferred. I would have actually preferred that they get rid of the name straight away. Yeah. But
that's fine.
But the livery. Let's talk about the livery.
It's too busy for me.
You're not a fan. You're not a fan.
I appreciate it. I understand it embraces like Williams' heritage and its bits of liveries from all different eras of the cars, apart from the Mechachrome. Is it Mechachrome? When they were that horrible reddy color in the early 2000s. Just look it up. It looks horrible. Williams Mechachrome, I think they were called. I just think there's too much going on for me. I appreciate it. I don't hate it. I just don't think it looks fantastic.
I think I'm with you on that, to be honest. I think the thing for me is that it looks a bit disjointed, doesn't it? Sort of like it don't quite fit when you look at the front. Look at its side on. It doesn't work. I mean, the onboard looks good. The onboard looks fine. But when you look at it from a distance, it's like, I mean, yeah, I think it had just been all that one colour, that blue. I think it would have looked really nice.
And I think it's similar to the Merc logo with all the AMG they've got written all on the back of it now.
Yeah, that's awful.
I just think it just doesn't need it. It's like with the Ferrari with the two-tone with the red and the burgundy at the back. It looks like someone lit a match at the end and put it out, and it changed. Just burnt a bit of the paint off.
I don't mind that on the Ferrari, to be honest.
I understand why they kept it, but I don't know.
What do you think for Williams' prospects this year? How do you think they looked in pre-season?
I think they've improved a little bit. I think it'll be maybe the occasional points pickup. I don't expect to see them anywhere near the front. That's for sure.
That's true. I think the midfield's just got so strong now that if anything, they've probably gone further back. But
I think this year as well this year's definitely a washout year. Like all the cars are slight improvements on last year, and everybody's focus is next year because the reset button's being pressed.
That's the big change. That's where people need to hit the ground running next year.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, like we know, like you said earlier, like Haas aren't going to be developing the car this year. Their focus is next year. It wouldn't surprise me if Williams kind of do the same thing. Maybe develop it a little bit, see if they can creep up in the standings a couple of places to get a bit more extra buck coming at the end of the season. I think the majority of the teams may do a few months development before switching fully to next year. Depends on the manpower they've got.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be. I don't think there's going to be. Well, it depends how close it is. I mean, if we've got that close a fight, then some teams might push development a little bit more. Especially if it's if Mercedes are fighting with Red Bull for the championship because they'll want Lewis to get the 8th championship to become the undisputed greatest of all time, sort of thing. So that's what I think Mercedes will be wanting that quite desperately.
Essentially, yeah, I can see that.
So I can see them push development, but then that there's always the chance that it harms them for next year. So
I would say it was a big thing for Red Bull, but ever since they've come out and bought the Honda engine division, kind of just shows their commitment now to F1. So this year's not really a win or lose for them now. Of course, they'd love to win it, but you're not worried about them pulling out of the sport anytime soon because you don't spend that kind of money on an engine department if you're going to withdraw, are you?
That's true. Yeah. So going from that, then take that into our predictions for this season.
Okay.
Do you want to start at the front or the back?
Start from the back.
The back. Well, it's Haas.
Should have written.
Moving on.
Haas, cool. I reckon Williams.
What you reckon? What Williams in front of Haas or Williams behind Haas?
Yeah. Williams in front.
Williams in front. That's fine. I got confused for a second. I thought
Haas,
you were saying that Williams were going to be slowest.
So Haas, no, so Haas the slowest,
Yeah.
and I reckon Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would go Alfa Romeo.
Yep. And that's where then it gets tricky. Then it gets tricky.
I would then go. I'm going to stick my neck out here. I would then go Alpine.
Ooh. Bold.
Then Ferrari.
Okay.
5, isn't it? Yeah, that's fine. I would then go Aston Martin.
Okay.
Then AlphaTauri.
Mm-hmm.
McLaren.
Yep.
Then Mercedes. And then Red Bull.
Oh. So you're thinking Red Bull are going to attack it?
I just, the way that Red Bull and the way that AlphaTauri looked, yeah. Unless Merck have been pulling the wool over everybody's eyes, as you know, as a lot of people
Always
think
a
they are.
chance.
Yeah, there's always a chance. But I think this is just going off pre-season testing. So, you know, testing doesn't mean anything until we're actually racing.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
It's
I would
yeah.
Go on with yourself.
What are you saying?
Same or different?
I mean,
the same.
I'd say same at the back.
Yeah.
And the same at the front in terms of the constructors.
Okay.
I think Red Bull will take the constructors, but I think Lewis will win the drivers' championship.
Yep. Yeah. So, what would your top six in the drivers' championship be?
What, in the drivers' championship?
Yeah, top 6 in the drivers' championship.
Oh man, now you're asking. Oh, so I think it's going to be Lewis. I think it's going to be Lewis, then Verstappen, then Checo.
Yep.
I'm gonna be bold with this and say Ricciardo, and then maybe Bottas, Vettel. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Yeah. The trouble is that midfield is so tight, and it's going to be so tight that it's just. Yeah, I think Bottas is going to struggle more without the car having an advantage, because I don't think he's as great wheel to wheel.
We saw that with the Russell overtake on him in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do think Bottas version 9560 will do some good races.
Maybe one day.
I think I just feel bad for the guy. He's a good driver.
He's great.
He's definitely a good driver. I just once you compare like teammate to teammate, he's just shown up at every possible opportunity. But we know Bottas can race. He knows, the guy himself knows what he's capable of.
It's
fast. Just a shame that.
He can out qualify Lewis. I mean, you look at the qualifying comparison, and he's up there with him. And it's I know people just falls to bits in the race.
Yeah, it's like I know people got funny, like when Mercedes told Bottas to overtake in Russia, to let Lewis through in Russia, and stuff like that. But if he wasn't in those positions in the first place, he wouldn't have been asked to do so.
Yeah,
it's you make your own luck in F1.
Yeah.
Unless you're unfortunate enough to be taken out by somebody else. But if you've got an opportunity, you have to take it. And I feel like there's times where Bottas just hasn't grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and just ruined it, like you see Verstappen do, and like you've seen Lewis do.
He's not the same level of driver. It's like we were saying before. I think you've got Lewis and Verstappen, you've got Alonso. They can just, even Ricardo to a degree, they can just take a car and go fast and just and be ruthless with it as well.
Mm.
Whereas you've got some drivers that are fast, but then when it comes to the race situations, they just don't seem to have it in them to do it. And Bottas for me is very quick, but he just seems to fall apart in races often. I mean, I don't remember him, legitimately overtaking Lewis in a race without Lewis
Yeah,
having an
no,
issue or whatever else.
yeah, I see. I see what you're saying.
And,
Yeah, I don't know.
you saw that with Rosberg. I don't think Rosberg ever
Mm.
overtook Lewis on track, other than at the start of a race when Lewis was having issues in 2016. So it's like you get some drivers who are very quick, but when it comes to the actual racing side of things, they're just not. I don't know if it's like ruthless enough or what.
I just think I get what you're saying. I just think the difference between Rosberg and Bottas is Rosberg found something. He was able to do something, take it by the scruff of the neck, and actually take the fight to Hamilton. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll see it this year. Who knows?
There was definitely a lot more needle with Lewis and Rosberg for obvious reasons, but
Yeah.
Bottas isn't that kind of driver, so he needs to be more ruthless. He's got this year to do it. Like in all likelihood, he needs to do it this year if he's going to do it. He needs to just think of himself first,
Both
and
on
that's
1 year
it.
contracts, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll change it Mercedes next year.
But
Maybe.
Bottas is the one who's likely to go either way. They're more likely to keep Lewis on than Bottas, aren't they? So I feel like I feel like it's his last season. I think George will be in his car next year.
Could you go back to Williams?
Would he though?
I don't think he would.
No. You'd want to be in a championship, a potentially championship winning car. You'd have to be in a big team. But I just don't see him. I don't see him being able to do it as much as I like him. It's a shame.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's either going to be the two Red Bulls and the two Mercs going at it, or it will just turn into Verstappen and Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean we'll probably get
to
to Sunday and Lewis will just run away with it and we'll be like, oh, okay, great. It's that again.
I would like to see Ricardo on the podium.
That'd be great.
In Bahrain. Or Norris. Either McLaren driver. I think that McLaren's got something that can. Yeah, I just think it'd be good to see. But anyway, we won't know until end of qualifying where we stand.
True.
So we'll have to wait until then.
Only a couple of days away. Exciting stuff.
Looking forward to hearing the back again.
Yeah. It's it's kind of weird, isn't it? Just because like we had Bahrain pretty much at the end of last season, and we've got it at the start of this season. So I feel like it's only been 2 minutes since we were there. Since we saw Grosjean go up in flames. I'm still having nightmares about that. Drive to Survive season 3 did not help.
Looking forward to how he does in IndyCar. It's going to be really good to see.
Yeah,
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, they have that on Sky Sports. So yeah, I tend to watch a fair bit of Indy. Did last year anyway.
It's good.
But yeah, I think that's just about everything. We just got to get the weekend over with now and see where they all stand. I think Bahrain's probably a better indicator than having an Australian GP at the start. I think gives us a better idea of where they all stand. I would say. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. I definitely think it's going to be a good indicator of where teams are at. So before we finish, give us your podium prediction for Bahrain.
Oh,
I'll throw this out at you.
Oh, right. I'm gonna go Verstappen,
Yep.
Lewis. I really want a McLaren podium, so I'm gonna go for. Oh man, this is tough. I'm gonna go Ricardo.
Okay, cool.
You?
I'm gonna be really boring and go Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Bottas for the win.
Because he's won the past two or the past.
Oh, it's true. Lewis doesn't start well, does he? Lewis doesn't start seasons very well usually.
I'm gonna go Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen. Just to be boring and predictable.
Merc 1-2. You had to go Merc 1-2. Oh man.
I'll play it safe this time.
Please no. I can't cope. I think everybody else is going to be the same. We'll get there and it'll be like Merc 1-2 and everyone will be like, yep, great. Brilliant.
Here we go again.
Just bring on next year. But yeah, I think I think we've pretty much gone over just about everything, really. If you want to let everybody know, Ash, where they can sort of find you on social media or any channels you want to let them know about.
You can find me on Twitter at Barky Gaming. I post a lot of F1 stuff, motorsport in general. But yeah, that's the main place you can find me.
Brill.
Yourself?
Yes, if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, it's at AirGuysGT. That's EHRGEIZ GT, because nobody can spell it. And you can also follow me. You can subscribe to my YouTube, which is Air Guys Gaming. And of course, if you aren't, should I say, you can subscribe to the Top Step F1 YouTube channel, where we will be uploading these episodes and many other things as well. So, Ash, thanks very much for the chat. It's been good.
Pleasure, Dan.
We'll see you all next time.
Catch you next time.